Welcome to Season 3 of the Predator Podcast. On this podcast, we'll talk about all things predator hunting. If you're a predator hunter or wanting to become one, you're in the right place. Here's your host, Drew Schlim.
All right, guys, Predator Podcast, Season 3. I got another great guest on today out of the great state of South Dakota, Shane Hofer, and he is a killing machine, and I think you guys are going to learn a lot today. So I'm excited to sit down and talk with him and talk about some of his strategies and things that he does. And Shane, thanks for taking the time to join me today.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me on.
So, like I said, Shane's located in South Dakota, and he, I believe, is a Pulsar Prostaffer. He puts out lots of videos. If you follow him on Instagram, maybe you do. Instagram is Dakota Dogs Down, I believe.
Yeah.
So he puts out a bunch of videos and stuff, YouTube as well, and I've watched lots of them, and he puts out a bunch of good content. So I just want to get Shane to tell us a little bit about his background, how long he's been hunting coyotes, and kind of what got him to where he is today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've been hunting with thermals for 5-6 years now. I've been pro staff with Pulsar. This will be my 4th year going into 2025. So, being able to link up with Pulsar and having the opportunity to be joined with them has greatly helped the content I put out. But as far as hunting, like I said, about 5-6 years with thermals. Started out with night vision with my dad going out shooting coons and stuff, and we slowly upgraded. First got this cheap thermal, which I think was like $256 sensor in it, which we thought was a big deal then.
Big deal.
When you're first getting into it, and then from there, Dad sold that. He upgraded to a Pulsar Trail XQ38, which was the OG scope 4 or 5 years ago. And then I bought myself the Pulsar Apex XQ38, which couldn't record, but I think that scope was actually very good. Never had any issues with it, even though it had a 384 sensor in it. It was still very good. And then pushing content with the videos that we make through Dad's scope. I was able to I just submitted my application to the Pulsar Pro staff, and they accepted it. That gave me some opportunity to use the higher end content, and we grow in love with it, so you have to buy one. So, but yeah, my first coyote I ever shot, I was actually like 11 years old on a deer hunt, and it was 222 yards sitting on a dugout, so we weren't seeing deer. So my dad was like, "Hey, take it." So one shot, one kill, just flopped right over using a 22-250. So yeah, back then I was probably 3 feet high. Gun was taller than I am. That was my first coyote hunting experience. It's good stuff.
Right. Huh. That's cool. And then how long after that did you start getting into coyote hunting after you shot that first one? Did you day hunt first, or how did that go?
So I had a big break between actually got myself into kite hunting. So I've gone on a couple hunts with my dad in between there. I remember one hunt in particular that we set up in the slough, kind of on this dugout, and we had 4 coyotes running in. Supposedly, I didn't see nothing. So my dad brought me and a couple cousins with, and it was right at sun up, so it was pretty dark yet. I had no idea what was going on. Dad's like, "There's 4 coyotes coming in," and getting all excited. I didn't see him, but he shot one about 200 yards in the cattails, and then he made me go get it over on this frozen slough. I remember just looking down, and it's water. Who knows how deep the slough is? I'm just
Right.
creeping along. I was probably
Yeah.
like 12 or 13 then, but as far as actually getting into coyote hunting for real was probably when I got into thermals.
I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's easy to like people like get thermal and then pretty soon you can't get enough of it, and then you get the what I always call the thermal bug, where you as soon as you kill one, you just want to go, 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 and then you hammer it until you probably burn yourself out a little bit, and then you start to hunt smarter and you start to hunt, you just start to figure out when and where you should go, and you start taking off those 30-mile-an-hour wind nights, and and stuff like
Oh,
that
yeah.
we all used to try to brave through when we were all super excited to hunt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We learned when it's really windy, just stay home.
Yep.
Although it did work on Thursday, it was blowing like 30 miles an hour. We actually seen quite a few coyotes if you got right on them. The
Right.
biggest problem was my last post on Instagram. You could see it. My gun was waving like this. I couldn't get a steady shot, so
Because the wind was blowing your gun,
oh,
probably, right?
some was gotten away. Yeah, it was pretty rough.
Yeah. 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 Definitely happens. And yeah, it's not easy, especially if you're trying to make any shot at any distance, in that wind. It
Yeah.
creates a little challenge. Um, so what is there any specific things that you look for when you're gonna go hunting and you're like, heck yeah, this looks good that I gotta go tonight?
Um, I'd say definitely low wind helps and not too cold. I mean, cold, we've never had the best luck in, like when it's 0 degrees outside. Maybe
Right.
maybe it's just because the coyotes weren't moving. I don't know. You know how that is.
Yeah.
Sometimes the coyotes just aren't moving, but definitely like 5 to 10 mile an hour wind nights are great. Um, I've tried to keep track of like the barometric pressure, but can't make heads or tails out of connection dots there. So
Yeah.
whenever it's nice out, just go.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Wind is definitely a big factor for me. Is like the wind seems like, the higher the wind is, the worse it is. Seems
Oh
like,
yeah.
and I agree with the cold thing. That's why when we were just talking before we started recording, and I was talking about going tomorrow morning, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I don't know if it's gonna be worth it, but I kind of have to under the circumstances. But I don't know, like if it's gonna be worth it or if I'll even see or hear anything. It might be completely waste of time, but just because I think it's going to be like -4 and there's like, an 8-mile-an-hour wind. So it's going to be like, -10, or so it's going to feel like. So I don't know. I haven't had a ton of luck, especially at night in those conditions, in that real cold, unless it was
Mm-hmm.
like that for several days, like where they got used to it almost. But it seems like, especially like if it's just for a couple days at a time, it seems like they shut down pretty good at night, from my experience, anyhow.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. I don't know what's up with that. Like, I mean, you'd think they'd have to get up and go move around, but maybe they don't like the cold just as much as you do.
Yeah, yeah, I know they say that once it gets that cold that they like to not move at night, and they would rather like move during the day, I guess, and they
Mhm.
conserve energy at night. But yeah, it's hard because like you always, I think especially for me when I was growing up, we always thought if it's colder, the colder the better. If they're cold, they're gonna be hungry, that old tale. And I just don't know. I think to an extent that could be true if you're day calling. Like I think day calling when it's very cold can be good.
Mhm.
And you can get some of those food reactions, especially if you're close to one, right? I mean, they're still going to take an opportunity if they're close by. If they're cold, but it seems like at night, I don't know. I guess my experience is it's been really tough, but I do think if like it was -5 for 6 days in a row, I think maybe by the third or fourth day, it would probably be, they would have to move essentially.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I almost wonder if there's like maybe it's just got set up different than you'd normally do, like maybe get closer to where they're actually hanging out.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a big factor. And sometimes one of the things that I notice about super, super cold is it sometimes becomes harder to get in places because the ground's so frozen and hard, and then you get
Hmm.
that super cold and no wind. It seems like the sound just carries so
Yeah, that
bad
could.
when you're walking. But I definitely think if you could get in places quiet and you could get close to them, I think you could still have success. It's just, there's a lot of irons in the fire there for what's going to determine whether you're successful or not.
Yeah, yeah. I went out. I think it was day after New Year's, maybe. There was like zero wind, and it wasn't free, like zero negative something. I think it was maybe 10 degrees out, but it was so quiet you could just hear everything.
Yep.
We had a couple sets where the coyotes just sat out there a mile. I don't know if what they seen, heard, or maybe they're just educated, but it's just strange sometimes.
Yeah. Or the one that you ever have the ones that this is one I can't ever figure out. Like you see a coyote, he's comes out or maybe comes like maybe a lot of times where I've seen it is like he's going like he's basically coming out going towards the wind just like you would expect, right? Lays down. Just lays down out there. Like
I've
and
had
dude,
that a couple times.
what have you done in those situations? That's something that I've came across a few times in the last couple of years, and I had someone message me recently about that, and I'm like I don't know what to tell you on that. Like I've
Hmm.
never been able to get them to get up, or I guess I don't know. What do you think, or
I've
what have you
actually
done?
I've actually just picked up my equipment and go stalk them.
Right?
I've never gotten closer than 300 yards before I take a shot because I'm pretty confident at that range.
Yeah,
But yeah, just get up and stalk them is what I've done
yeah.
a couple times.
I'd agree. I've sat there and played it, every sound in the book, and the thing never moved.
Oh yeah.
So same thing. Got up and walked at them until it got up, or usually when they get up, you're probably in trouble because they probably already know you're there. But even if you can get into comfortable range, like you said, get to 300 yards if you're comfortable, you know, I think
Yeah.
that's probably the best option there too, especially
we
if
had
you got the wind.
we had one instance. This was, I think, the second coyote with thermals that I ever shot, probably 6 years ago. We set up in this valley, it's a bunch of trees. Never seen anything. We played every sound in the book, and then we played one male challenge howl, and there was this thing sitting in the trees the whole time. A male challenge howl.
Yep.
It was probably 500-600 yards away. As soon as we played that one challenge howl, it gets up and comes charging in 100 yards. It was sitting there the whole time we were playing those sounds, never moved. Just crazy.
I've seen weird stuff like that happen too, where like we had one time, I remember we had four coyotes out in front of us, like 400 yards or so, played rifled through every sound in the books, never moved, played, fights and, everything. Come back, the last sound we turned on was rabbit, and they just piled right in. And
Huh.
it's like it just never fails to surprise you every time you think you got it figured out, or you think I'm screwed.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about kite hunting. Like, it's a challenge. Every set is pretty much different.
Yeah.
There's some nights all you gotta do is turn the call on and they come running. But like it's actually, setup is always gonna be different. The coyote's always gonna do something else. And I think that's why kite hunting is so intriguing to people.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think too, part of it is you might go out and kill four stands in a row, or you go kill that triple or quad and on your first stand or whatever, and you think you got it figured out, and then the next four stands you might get smacked right in the mouth and not see or hear anything, and or you miss or whatever, and it's just so humbling that it just keeps you on your toes really, because I don't think you can ever get too comfortable or confident, because it seems like no matter what you do, like you're always gonna just all of a sudden have a blank stand, you're gonna miss, you're gonna, whatever happens, obviously the host of things that can happen. But
Yeah, get winded or you mess up. Yeah,
yeah,
you definitely don't want to take any shortcuts when it comes to kite hunting. Seems like every time you do, it messes you up every time.
I agree. Like you just almost just have to tell yourself, I gotta stay ready, I gotta stay ready, gotta get the next one. Because it seems like as soon as you let your guard down and you think, oh, nothing's coming, I've seen the ones where guys will put their scanner down or whatever and just not be looking, or all of a sudden there's one right in your lap,
Yeah, that happens more often. It's like, where the heck did you come from?
Yeah, exactly. Uh, okay, so as we talked a little bit before this, the never ending kind of continuation of just coyotes being educated, just part of it. Thermal's more available, there's more hunters, whatever, it's all good. But it does force us as hunters to adapt a little bit,
Mhm.
and figure out ways to be successful. So what are some things that you've changed over the years that kind of help you be more successful?
Yeah, I think definitely throwing the call out further and even using hand calls, which actually the last couple of years I haven't used hand calls much, but throwing the caller out, setting up different than what you'd think someone else would. Like, I know around here, I don't want to give away, it's like, how that is, but
Yep.
like, you set up, a lot of people for night hunting, they like to set up like they would during the day.
Yep.
And like in tucked in a hole somewhere 30 yard or like 300 yards from where the coyote might be. And at night, you don't necessarily have to do that, especially if
Right.
it's very dark. But yeah, throwing the collar out, I like a crosswind. That seems to be the best if depending where they circle from. Of course, they circle different every time, but
Yep.
I think having more land to hunt too, like covering more ground, really helps too. And for the educated coyotes, also being able to take the longer shots when they hang up at 3, 4, 500 yards. But so we shoot 22 Creedmoors. They're a very flat round.
Yep.
Those educated coyotes that hang up, we actually take out quite a few of them.
Right. Yeah. I would agree with all of those things. I do think that one of the best ways to, I think, personally capitalize on educated coyotes is like what you mentioned, is use a crosswind and just really give, like, you almost are like kind of giving them an option to, like, hey, here's a way to get around us, but I'm going to cover that. Like, sometimes I think just giving them that convenience of, hey, if I go right here, I can get the wind, relatively quickly, but obviously your goal is to shoot them before they get your wind. But I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes that's one of the most important things for educated ones, because they are always going to go to the wind. I mean, just it never fails. And the one time you'll set up and think, I it's not perfect, but it'll work, and then it won't. Like, it just, they never fail to exploit your weakness in your setup.
Yeah.
And are you in relatively flat country, or I guess
Oh, yeah, for the most part.
pretty
Until you go
flat?
out west.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought I saw, like, I noticed in your videos it's pretty flat.
Oh, yeah. Most of the stuff we hunt are just plowed fields.
So you can see a long ways, and yeah.
Yeah.
How far
Yeah.
do you feel comfortable shooting? Really?
Uh, confidently 400 yards, pretty easy.
Yeah.
450, 500. I mean, I'm comfortable taking the shot, but a lot of times, you don't really know where you hit. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, the furthest shot confirmed kill that we did is Dad and I. It was three coyotes, 533 yards away, kind of downwind. It was a full moon. I think they seen us probably.
Yep.
We did a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and Dad and I both dropped one 533 yards. That was
Wow.
that was pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome. Do you normally hunt with your dad, or who do you normally hunt with? Like, do you have
Yeah,
two,
I
three
have
guys
my
you normally hunt with?
yeah, I got my dad and then my dad's cousin are my two main hunters.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I certainly like hunting. I think 3 is a really good number. Like, just seems like you can, cover it really well. If you get multiples that come in, it seems like it's not too much. It's not too many guys.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's,
4 is definitely too many.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. A good 2 is good, or 3 is, a 3 is sometimes can be fun when you get a bunch of them to come in too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this year it's been kind of weird. Like we haven't had like too many big packs run in. It's always like 2, and then maybe a third one sneaks in a little later. But I haven't like this year. I haven't seen much of 5 or 6 come rolling in, which is kind of unfortunate. It makes good video, but
Yeah.
that's what it is.
I just had in the last week and a half, I had 9, 5, and 4, and those were those were interesting. The 9 was pretty wild. We should have probably killed 4. We got 3. Probably should have killed 5 really, but we got 3 and I missed one bad. I mean, like 200 yards, like
Oof.
one that I normally don't do. Like, I just totally whiffed it, and it was just, one of them things that happens every once in a while. But like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I just totally blew that one. But we had they just piled in. I mean, it was something. I wish I didn't. They came in so fast that I didn't start recording on my scope until after I shot the first one. So,
Uh-huh. Wow.
but yeah, it was fun. But yeah, I don't know. 9 is the most I've ever seen come in. I've seen maybe 6 a few times, but like, I don't know. It just seems like around here it's a lot of 2s and 3s. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even 4 is pretty not normal, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen when I first started getting into it a couple years, I've seen a pack of 8 hung up at 300 yards, never got a shot off. And then this night was insane. I wish I had a more experienced shooter with. So it was
Yeah.
just a buddy and me. My buddy has never gone thermal hunting, never gone coyote hunting. He was still learning how to use his equipment, and we called in probably 50 different coyotes. We got 9 throughout the night, but there was one set, 9 came rolling in. Every other set, we had a pack of 5 or 6 come in, and we were only managed to get 1 every time.
Oh man.
But yeah, all that night was insane. But yeah, if I had a more experienced shooter with, I guarantee we'd have 25 coyotes.
Yeah. Yikes. Yeah. The one that happened to me the other day, we had it was full moon. This was just the other day, like Wednesday
Mm-hmm.
or Wednesday, maybe I don't know. It was just a few days ago. We walked into this spot. It was like kind of big, wide open. Like, obviously I'm in like kind of hilly country, so you're kind of always over a hill, something like that. But
Yeah.
uh, so this coyote started booger barking right down in the draw where we wanted to call him out of. Like, before, while I was setting the call out, so it obviously heard us, saw us, whatever. I don't know. I couldn't see it with my thermal, but I don't know if it was there, when I was setting the call out or something. But um, so I went back, sat down, started playing, trying to get him to break. So I was playing like female challenge and like getting aggressive with them, trying to get them to break. And then I went to coyote coon fight, and it was so bright out. I heard something. I heard running. Like, there was deer all around us too, like running all over the place. And all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, I heard like running behind me, straight behind me. And I glance over my left shoulder, and I can see these running.
Really?
And I got thinking to myself, this is not in my thermal either. This is just with my eyes, like 60 yards away. I'm like, those, I feel like deer wouldn't have been running in here while I was playing coyote coon fight. That seems odd. you know? I said to my buddy sitting next to me, because he was to my right so he could see better back behind me. I was like, those are all deer, right? And he turns and he goes, nope, those are 5 coyotes. I'm like, oh no.
Oh,
So
wow.
I wheeled around. We got 2 of them, but
Uh,
we were probably pretty lucky to get 2 of them. But
uh,
you know, just the things that happen on a stand, you never know.
yeah. Yeah, that actually kind of, it was just one coyote, but the guy we were with, he knew this coyote It just sits there and barks from that hill over there, 600 yards away. Sure enough, we turned the call on and he starts barking at us. And I did the same thing. I turned on a coyote coon fight and that thing comes charging in and we got him. But yeah, this guy, he didn't expect him to come in.
Huh. We had one the other Friday morning too that it it was one of them deals where the thing was out in the field long ways out, and you looked at it, you looked at it, you looked at it, doesn't move, doesn't move. So you finally tell yourself it's not a coyote because it hasn't moved, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
coyotes always move. Well, so the coyotes howled like in another, like to my right or something. So I like picked up my tripod and I moved like 10 feet just so I could see better like the direction they howled. Then dang, right then that sucker that was in that field started barking at me. And we actually got him to break. I think we played we had a Fox Pro with us, so I don't remember what he was playing, like uh some type of fight sound anyways, but he broke. He came to like 380 and that was the closest he got, which, in hindsight I should have shot right there, but like of course you see him coming, so of course the coyote hunter in me wants to see if he's going to come closer.
Yeah.
He starts to leave, and then by the time I ended up shooting at him, he was at 475, and I just flinched ever so slightly when I squeezed through the trigger, that I missed by like just a little bit right in front of him because I
Dang.
was holding for wind, and
Mhm.
I just had, flinched just a hair to the left as I pulled the trigger, and I shot just barely right in front of that sucker.
Oh man.
But
Mm.
yeah, it's interesting how they will sit there and sit there and sit there, and then all of a sudden you move and bang, they got you. Like they were, I'm sure he was sitting there watching us that whole time. It was
Yeah.
bright moon. I mean, that's the challenge of the bright moon. But I mean, we still ended up getting four that in four stands. So
Mm.
it can be done. You can kill them in the full moon.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can. You just gotta make sure you hide a little bit.
Yeah,
When we set up by trees, we have a way better luck.
I'd agree. Or if you can get, well, yeah, again, you're in flat stuff a lot of times. But for me, it's like if we can get below them where like they're not going to skyline us or
No. Sure.
something like that, like which is a little harder here because it seems like the ridges are more open in theory, and then
Hmm.
we have bottoms that have, the cover where the coyotes
Yeah.
in theory might be. But um, yeah, if we can get in spots that are lower, it's helpful. Or get in the shadows or whatever in the full moon.
Yeah. Yeah. Last year we called in a full moon coyote to like 40 yards. I don't know how he didn't see us. We were set up behind trees, but and then my recorder wasn't on, unfortunately, but I didn't
Yep.
get it on video.
Yep.
But
I've had a few of those this year that I shot at like 40 yards that just all, like you're calling and all of a sudden they just pop up right there and you're like bang, and then no video, but whatever. It happens.
yeah, or those great videos, and then your video is corrupted or something. It's like,
Yeah. Or the ones where they come from a long ways running right to the call, and then your buddy misses.
yeah, you gotta love those.
Yeah. Yeah, those are fun. All right. So when you go to a stand, what are you taking with you for gear? Like gun, everything, details, what's all going with you?
Not much, honestly. My gun, tripod, and collar.
And then what do you run for a scope, and like what bullet do you shoot? Like what are the kind of fine details of your stuff?
Yeah, sure. So I've been running through a few different tripods. So I used to run a slick tripod. It's an A33 model. And then I had a Vortex Radian ball head on
Oh,
top. And then I lost it. I don't know if it flew off the truck going down the interstate or what, disappeared.
huh.
So I bought a new one. I didn't really like it. And right now I bought a different one. It's a Siriu or something I'm trying out. So far it seems decent, but I think I like my slick a little better. So I might just sell that one and get the slick again. And,
Right.
like I think I said it earlier, shooting a 22 Creedmoor. We're reloading Sierra Blitz King 60 grain bullets. Those bullets are honestly most of the time you can't even find a bullet hole in them, and they're just dead.
Yeah.
It's
And
it's a
those are probably coming out hot too, huh?
oh yeah, I like 3750 about.
Yeah.
They're nice.
Yeah, so
The
she's
speed
pretty
is-
flat to probably 350, huh?
oh yeah, 400 it has like an 8-inch drop. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it's very fast. Speed is definitely nice when it comes to running coyotes if you got a pack that comes in.
Right.
And then I have a Silencer Central is local here in town actually.
Yeah.
That's where they started. You've probably heard of.
Right.
So that's the can I'm running, a Banish 30.
Yeah, I actually have a Banish 30 also. I just got it this summer, I think. Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, that's a local town here. It started about 15 years ago maybe. And then
Nice.
for collar, I'm running a Lucky Duck Super Revolt. Um, yeah.
So what about your scope and scanner, scope and
Oh yeah.
binos, or what all do you use for your thermal stuff?
So yeah, for my scope on top of the gun, I'm running a Pulsar XL50 Thermion.
Yep.
That scope is the 1024 sensor, just super nice,
Yep.
nice and crispy. And of course, when
Yep.
it's foggy out, it's whatever. But
Yep.
they're all that way. And then for a spotter, I haven't run the binos. I tested them out one night when I was in Texas at the Selmark Ranch, and they're nice. But right now, I'm just running a Telos XL50 LRF. That's the highest quality thermal I've ever run for a spotter.
Right.
Top notch.
Yeah. 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 It's though I go back and forth on the binos because I've tried them also, and like the only thing I don't like is having two hands up all the time. You
Mm.
know, like I mean you could hold them with one, but like it's just not as good. But like I like to switch hands all the time with my scanner because like
Yeah.
you get tired, so you just rotate hands. But holding up two hands all the time. But what I did like was I would see stuff a long ways out, and then this was like when I was just trying them out, so I had like everything. I had like a helmet rig and everything. So I like see them with the helmet rig, flip it up, pull the binos out. I'm like, yep, okay, yeah, that's a coyote. I could see him way out there with those things, with
Hmm.
the mergers. And then yeah, I just it- no, absolutely like totally unnecessary, but like it was just kind of funny trying it out, because I was seeing, I'd just pick up heat way out there and I'd pull those mergers out and be like, oh yeah, that's a coyote at 800 yards out or whatever, I could just see him plain as day with those. But
Yeah. So what helmet? How does their helmet rig work? What units were you using with that?
that one on the helmet rig, it was a Rick's Stride ST6, so it's the 640 binocular. It's a 1X base mag, so it's pretty
Yeah.
big, field of view. But like
Yeah.
I don't use it all the time. I just used it for a while just to try it out. And I do like the helmet. It's just um it just kind of everything has its like positives and negatives. The only thing that I don't like about it is you got to flip it up to get into
Hmm.
your scope. Well, sometimes here, like all of a sudden a coyote might pop up or swing right behind me at 60 yards, and I got to spin and shoot it quick
Oh yeah.
to get that thing flipped up and out of the way to shoot. Sometimes I don't know. I'm sure it would help me in some situations. I'm sure it would hurt me in some situations. In all reality, if you could, like, if money was no object, and like, it was just you had thousands and thousands of dollars laying around, I would wear a helmet to walk in.
Hmm.
And I'd set the call out. I'd come back. I'd sit down. I'd maybe wear it, and then maybe when I started calling, I'd flip it up just to be ready for, a shot. Or maybe it would depend on the spot you were in too. If you were in a spot you could see a lot and they're not going to sneak up on you, maybe you leave it down until you see one. But, you know,
Hmm.
I don't know. It's just I think there's just always positives and negatives to everything, and there's
Yeah. There is.
best than one, same with thermals, same with tripods, same with calls, same with, I think it's all and ends up being whatever each person, whatever works best for them.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. It's like yeah, I'm getting a set of mergers to test out here the next week. so we'll see how that is. But it'll probably just be set up on a tripod recording because the
Yeah.
Pulsar wants steady footage. They had a problem with that last year, I guess. The footage with spotters were shaky. You're holding it. You know how that is.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No,
it'll just
that
be
is
set
hard.
up tripod. So we'll see
Yeah.
how that.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I mean, it'd probably make for good video,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, they're sweet. I mean, it looks like you're looking at a big screen TV, basically. Like it's just a huge screen that well, compared to like your binoculars that we're all used to, it's just such a big screen and you
Hmm.
can see so good with them. Yeah, they're nice. Even the 384 ones were nice. I used those a bit. They were nice too.
Hmm. Yeah, one of the big advantages a lot of people have told me with the mergers that you don't get the thermal eye or dark eye, whatever they call it,
Oh,
with
yeah,
mergers. Now
because
they're
you have both eyes. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, now they're both going to be dark. Before one was adjusted to the light, one was dark adjusted to the
Yeah.
light dark. So like, but
I don't notice that as much anymore. I don't know if it's
yeah,
because maybe the thermals are better and they don't they don't do that to your eye as much, but I don't know. I guess maybe I don't know what your experience is, but I guess I don't even maybe it's just I'm used to it. I don't know.
yeah, I think that's what it is. Like if I haven't gone hunting in a while, or my screen is just super bright, and then I go out, I'll notice it a little bit. But it definitely not like when you first started using thermal.
Yeah. The worst I ever had of it one time I was hunting a full moon with snow. So like when I was younger, we always used to hunt full moons and with the snow, and
Mhm.
regular scopes, no thermals, nothing. And one time, buddy had a thermal scanner, so we were using the thermal scanner. These dogs were coming in. They were like in a fence line, so I couldn't see them very good because there was, they were kind of in the cover, but I could see them with the thermal. So I'm watching them come in, with my right eye, watching them come in, and like they get like coming out to where we're gonna shoot them. And I put that thing down, and I go to get into my day scope, and it was just I couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
It was just a train wreck.
Oof.
That was one bad experience I had with it, but obviously learned
No.
my lesson. If you're ever gonna do that, you would just use your left eye.
Yeah.
But
Or stick with. I guess you didn't have thermal in the
yeah, it
guns.
didn't have thermal then. We just had a thermal scanner then. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
you learn something every time you go out.
it was a long time ago.
Huh.
Uh, have you hunted anywhere else besides South Dakota? Well, you mentioned Texas, but
Yeah, so I'd hunted in Nebraska with a buddy. He invited me down for a tournament around his place. So I hunted in Nebraska, I've hunted North Dakota, Minnesota a little bit. But yeah, mainly South Dakota.
yeah. Do you have anywhere you would like to go or that you plan on going?
Uh I'd like to go to Oklahoma, which I actually did go to Oklahoma. I was just on a work trip and brought my equipment down, and then my some coworkers lived down there, so hunted around their place a little bit, and we had some. It was fun. So yeah,
Yeah.
that area I'd definitely like to hit again.
Yeah. I actually was almost gonna hunt Oklahoma next week, but I'm going to Kansas instead. I'm gonna
Mm.
go to Kansas on my way to Texas just to break up the drive a little bit. It's a 17-hour drive from here, so
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, I think we hit Kansas too when I was in Nebraska, kind of hunting the in between the two.
I gotcha. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many trips you'd want to take, but who
No.
has time for that?
Right.
We
Yeah.
we'd always go up to North Dakota on this ranch. Haven't done that the last couple of years. Like to hit Iowa more, but don't really have land there to hunt.
Right.
Kind of
Yep.
like
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. It's not getting easier to get spots either. It's getting, there's more people hunting, more stuff's hunted, more whatever. But so it's always a never-ending battle. But
yeah, yeah. Lately we've run into a lot of people saying, "Oh no, we hunt them ourselves." Like most people won't say no, but that's the issue we've run into more often than not.
yeah, same here. I hear a lot like, oh, somebody already hunts here, or we have a few guys that hunt here, or whatever. But that's
Mm.
fine. I'm just, yeah, I'm glad they don't say, yeah, you can hunt here, and then there's 10 other people that hunt there too, and I don't know.
Yeah, right.
So I would rather know. But
Yeah.
uh, here's a question for you. So, what is there anything that you do that you feel is different than what most people do?
Hmm. That's a good question. I guess I haven't really hunted with like a lot of other people. So
Right,
like I guess when I've hunted with other people, a lot of times they'll hike in half a mile, and I don't really do that. Tuck the truck in the trees, and set up over the ridge, walk
right,
the 50 yards. Especially if it's dark. If it's a full moon, yeah, then you'd put in a little more effort. But then maybe taking longer shots.
yep,
Most people aren't comfortable, especially with thermal, taking longer shots. And maybe just hitting more ground, calling it after 20 minutes, moving to the next spot. I know like some people I've talked to, they spend an hour there. I'm like, but maybe it'd help sometimes, but
yeah. Yeah, I think it totally depends. I usually just go based on a feeling, or like I've seen it where like they're there, they howl or something where I stay longer and it might pan
yeah.
out work, but um usually for me if I'm going to stay that long it's cuz like the landowner's telling me that they're there all the time, and you know, the way I look at it is if I don't kill them that they're going to get someone else in there that will. So
Mhm.
I try to very high prioritize those spots, and when people are asking me to get out there and kill them, that I try to make sure that I kill them. So I might stay at a spot longer for those reasons, but um, yeah, I think I'm a lot of times now like 20 minutes ish. I'm starting to make a decision like, okay, is this worth staying another 10 or should I leave? Like,
Yeah.
you know, uh, because the other thing too is once you start killing them, your stands get long. Like by the time you go get them and you retrieve them and you take a picture or pictures and it just, we killed four the other morning in four stands, and we averaged an hour just because
Mm.
I had one the other night where I killed two. I was by myself, killed one like 260 yards to my left, and I killed one that was 200 and something yards to my right, in those polar opposite directions. And so I had to go retrieve them both and get them back and take pictures and do, all that stuff. And um,
Yeah.
that certainly slows you down. But a lot of these guys nowadays are getting e-bikes and stuff, and I bet
I've seen.
that I bet that's got to cut some time off the night.
Oh yeah. Huh. Yeah, like I said, I haven't really hunted with too many other people to
Yeah,
see what they do, but I'd say hiking in is probably the biggest one.
yeah,
Like at night, there's hardly no reason to. Like most of the time, we just set up on the flat field and see what comes.
right. And sometimes walking in that far can be detrimental too, because they can hear you. Or, the closer you get to them, the more better chance of them hearing you or seeing you.
Yeah, I push them out of the field, and
Right.
then you never know where they're gonna come from here because everything's so flat. Yeah, there's cover over there, cover over there, cover over there, but couldn't come from anywhere.
Yeah. Or do you do you find yourself like this time of year? Um, so when this episode comes out, it'll be roughly the last week of January, first week of February timeframe. What
Mm-hmm.
is like what's kind of your game plan going into a stand, and how are you gonna attack it right at that
Definitely
it's
using
that time?
definitely using vocals and breeding sounds.
Yeah.
I mean, we pretty much are gonna set up the same way, but definitely use more vocals and breeding stuff and fights.
Yeah. That's that's one thing too, not to beat a dead horse here, but it just came to my mind when we were talking about kind of educated coyotes and what we do. I think one thing that I try to tell people too is like if they ask me and they are hunting stuff that's educated, I'll tell people to leave the distress calls out. Like just
Yeah,
play vocals. Like play, a lone howl or whatever, and then just sit there. Just put more time between your calls. Make sure your downwind's covered, and leave the distress in the in the call.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't really seen it much this year, but like a few years ago, you'd turn on a rabbit, the coyote would go that way.
I've heard a lot of people saying that lately, and I think that's just, granted, just like you do, we still kill coyotes to rabbit sounds, but I think it's totally dependent on the situation, and I'll try to use like stinky rat or
Mm-hmm.
um what what's the other one that I use? Ground squirrel. I
Mm-hmm.
use those two a lot, like when I see coyotes to try to get them, to commit, just because it's
Yeah.
something different, rather than turning on rabbit or turning on shelter belt or something that they may have heard before.
Yeah. Yeah. If they're well, you figure they're educated and just kind of meandering their way in, a lip squeak or something like that. Not traditional sound, definitely.
Yep,
You gotta
exactly.
you gotta throw something else out there to be
Yep,
different.
yep.
Or even
But
hand calls. Like that works really good.
yeah, I killed one with the hand call the other day in a spot where it's, I would say, pretty hunted, uh, pretty hunted by me, but it's like one of my kind of, it's like one of my deer hunting spots. So you
Mm-hmm.
get trail camera pictures of them. So of course you go out there and try to kill them. But yeah, I went out there the other night with a hand call, and I ended up killing them with the hand call, and that's all I had and all I did. And yeah, yeah, it's just it's funny how it changes so much. And like one night you might kill them all the vocals, then the next night you go out and all of a sudden they come into rabbit every time. It's just like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, that's just strange. Honestly, like especially if you kind of hunt the same area and nothing is gonna work the same the next day at all.
exactly. Yeah, we had to stand. We had the other day. I'm thinking of one situation where we killed three dogs in three stands, killed them all three different ways. Like they
Mm.
all came in on something different, and that's just like, I'm sure you get it all the time. Like, oh, what sound's working right now? Or what sounds
Oh
are
yeah,
working right now? It's just like, well, I don't know. It depends. Like
yeah. Like every day is different. I don't.
maybe one of these eight might work.
Yeah, yeah. Last time I was out, howls worked the best. Rabbit didn't do much. Pup distress usually doesn't work around here. I think everybody throws that out.
I'd
Distress.
actually, I'd actually agree with that. I've used I've been using like Sig kicking ass, and like
Yeah, that's good.
that one's been working for me lately. I killed a couple on that. We had some the other morning that about ran us over when we turned that on. It was
Hmm.
funny because they came out. I turned on Stinky Rat or Ground Squirrel or something. Didn't move. Sitting on their butts, not moving. Turned on Sig kicking ass, and they just full throttle running at us. And yeah, so that's when I kind of noticed just in the last 2 weeks, like week and a half really, but like I've kind of noticed a shift. Like I went from killing lots of them on distress and whatever, and then it seems like the last 2 weeks, like it's just been like a light switch. Not every stand, of course, but it seems like they're a lot more responsive to vocals, to fights, to breed sounds. Like you can tell it's coming.
Oh yeah, yeah. Last year we had a tough time in one area getting the coyotes to come in. They would just sit there and bark at you, yeah, 600 yards away. And we found this one call. It was on the Fox Pro. I don't know if it's like a outside call or Fox Pro actually made it, but it was called Pup Frenzy. And that thing got the coyotes coming fast. We got a triple in one time. So I guess so. We had two coyotes come rolling in after hanging up, put on the Pup Frenzy. They came rolling in 100 yards. My buddy and I double tapped them, and then they were still howling in the same spot. So we did some more howls and then turned on the Pup Frenzy again. And the next two coyotes come in, and we should have had a quad, but I don't know what happened. We got one of them, but
Right.
You know how that is.
Yep.
Maybe you should have took a shot when you didn't, and then they see you, wind you, and then they're out 300 yards. But yeah,
Yep.
trying to find those sounds that just trigger something or they come running. That's the challenge.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I think some of the toughest maybe it's not as bad for you because you're hunting more open flat stuff, but like sometimes for us, some of the hardest coyotes to kill are those ones that just come in 100 miles an hour. Like sometimes it seems like you can't get them to stop. They come in so hard that they see you before you can get them stopped, or pretty soon they're at 40 yards, and once they get that close, it's obviously difficult, but pretty
Hmm.
soon they're leaving or whatever. But that's one thing I always tell my guys. I'm like, dude, those are some of the toughest ones. Like if we get one or two, like that's a victory.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say like if you're hunting the big open flats, they're not going to come charging in like that before they start slowing down around 200 yards. But if you're like well hidden around some cover, then yeah, that's when you got to be ready.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Um, if you as you get later in the year, is there anything that you like as you're hitting repeat stands? Do you try to call them differently? Do you set up differently, or
Yeah,
how
it
do you
depends
kind of navigate that?
what the wind is doing. Obviously, some spots you're pretty limited. Like if you're trying to find cover or something to hide behind.
Right,
But yeah, if we know that we missed some coyotes and they got away last time, we'll definitely use different sounds, maybe even a different caller.
right.
Yeah, I
Because
definitely. If you were playing this coyote when you shot and missed, and they start running off, you probably don't want to play that sound again.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I kind of like that too. Where because I use the Lucky Duck Revolt, and then like my buddy has a Fox Pro X24. So like we will, next time we go back there, we'll pull out the Fox Pro, or whatever. So
Yeah, I think that definitely helps, especially if not a lot of people are hitting the area.
yeah, I'd agree. I definitely think just changing it up. Like I always try to like mentally note what I played at the spot last time, and like sometimes I remember, sometimes I obviously don't know because how do you keep track of that
Right.
much? But your good spots or whatever. I usually try to remember, and sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I just try to change it up as much as I can, just so I make sure I'm different.
Yeah, it doesn't happen like too often where you just flat out screw the stand up and you miss, whiff it, and the one gets away. Honestly, it doesn't happen too often anymore.
Yeah,
Especially like a local spot that you'd hit more often, where maybe using a different sound next week needs to happen. Like a lot of the spots we've hunted, it's 2 3 hours away, so you maybe hit it once a month or every other month, and then it doesn't really matter at that point. But
right. Yeah. Me and my buddies were just talking the other day after we were done hunting, and um, we just kind of were talking about like, what do you guys like? What do you think? Like, why are we killing these dogs at such a better clip than we ever used to? And I think that some of the biggest factors is we don't miss as much. I think we used, I think when we were younger and a little less careful with our, equipment, and we missed a lot more. And the other thing I think we used to hit more that we didn't find. Uh, since you kind of go through the paces, you shoot whatever gun bullets that you had or that you can buy at the store, and you just kind of evolve to the reloading and the shooting kind of what's and figuring out what works the best, and I think that that's some of the biggest game changers for us has been hitting them or not missing them and just dropping them in their tracks, and not having them run off and not recovering them or whatever.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah, and I think too, like what you mentioned too, being able to shoot a little farther. Like I think if you can shoot 300 yards and get them, confidently, like you're gonna definitely kill more coyotes. Like I'm not saying people need to go out there and blast at them because I think a lot of it is your equipment too. Like your equipment has capabilities. Like if you're shooting a 256 resolution, you know, probably not a great option to be shooting that far because you probably aren't maybe 100% certain on what you're shooting at that far either.
Right. Right.
Oh, but obviously in the days that the scope pretty dang good these days, the even a 384, but I would think a 384 you should be able to shoot 300 yards, but you know, any 640s are pretty dang good these days. All the, anything that's somewhat new. And
Yeah.
obviously you have a 1024. I have a 1024 now. I mean, that's just you're at you're at or I guess yours is probably what a base what's yours a base 3 mag?
It's
Two.
1.75.
Oh, it's way low. It's
Yeah.
175.
A lot of people don't really like that, but I like it. I don't know.
Do you shoot picture in picture then?
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah, because
Other than that, I don't zoom in.
yeah, that's what I figured because a lot of people that like low base mag scopes are picture in picture guys. I've noticed that. Which
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to each their own. I think any way that it works for you is good. But
Mm-hmm.
um, mine's a three base mag. So like I'm at I'm at 12 power zoom and I'm still at a 3D4 resolution. Like that,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty impressive for shooting at little range.
Yeah, yeah. I never really liked zooming in. I don't know, especially when it comes to like recording. I like to get like the background. And then what drives me crazy on these videos you see online, they're zoomed into like 16 power. There's five coyotes out there. They shoot one, and then they're like can't see nothing, trying to find
Yep.
the rest. Like, bro.
Yeah, I totally hear you there. Uh I usually don't post those videos because I shot one the other day. I shot at, you know, 260 or something, and I had zoomed all the way to 16. And I shot it. I dumped the one, and the second one I swung, on, and I watched it run off. It never did stop, and I didn't shoot. And then I went back to the second one, and I watched the video back one time, and I'm like, I can't post that. It's just not
Mm-hmm.
good. But
Yeah.
it, whatever. It's
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Like a lot of people are opposed to the 1.75 base mag. I personally like it. And then, if you want to zoom in, zoom in.
right, and yeah, I think that the field of view doesn't hurt you at all. It's just
Mm-hmm.
it is a personal preference. I hear both ends of the spectrum. I hear some people that are like, I refuse to use anything less than a 3 base mag. If they made a 5 base mag, I'd buy it, or a 6. But like then you have guys like you and I got buddies the same way. Like I want a 2 base mag. They'd buy a 1 base mag if they made it.
Yeah, I'll say like one thing. So I went from the XP50 to the XL50, which the XP50 is a two times base zoom. And, it's not a big difference, but it definitely, everything was just a little smaller. Definitely had to get used to that. And like, figuring out the depth perception because
Yeah.
everything smaller is going to be a little different. So
So it
yeah,
looks farther, probably looks farther than it is.
when it's not, yeah, like because of what I was used to. But
Right. Yep.
now that I'm used to this one, now the 2X is probably gonna look way zoomed in. It's like,
Yep.
but yeah, it just takes time to get used to, I think.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah. Do you use the ballistics in your scope, or do you have like a
I have
custom
it.
reticle, or how do you shoot
I
that?
have it set up. Yeah. So far when I've used it out to 500 yards, I haven't. I don't think I've really connected. And like I said, the round is so flat at 400 yards, you don't even need it. Shoot just like at its back, and you'll hit it.
Right.
But so far with the 500-yard shots, maybe the wind is a factor. You see the bullet land right next to it, or maybe the ballistics aren't exactly tuned in, so that's why I'm not connecting. I haven't really pinpointed it yet, but
Right.
yeah, I haven't messed with it too much, honestly.
Right. Yeah, I think it can be a real tool, but I think if it's just off a little bit. I had built the custom reticle that I took with me to Kansas, and I thought I had it dialed in, thought it was good. I shot at a coyote out in Kansas at 450 yards, and I missed it by like 3 feet, and I was like, oh, that
Mm.
was. I shot like 3 feet over its back. Like I was
Oh,
like, oh, this is great. Like this is clearly uh not working the way I thought it was gonna now.
yeah. Yeah. Some people have it figured out though, like Ethan Nicholas. I don't know if you follow him. Like he posts these 500-600 yard shots all the time and he hits them. I don't know
Yeah.
how he misses like that. He probably obviously doesn't post those videos, but he definitely hits a lot of them with
Right.
the ballistic calculator.
Yeah, they are handy, but like it's just there's so many factors that come into play at those distances. Like I told you about that one that I shot at 475 the other day. Like I moved so slightly as I
Mm-hmm.
right as the shot broke, and that was what caused me to miss it. Like it wasn't because of my wasn't any reason other than just pure human error on that little bit that at a distance like that makes a big difference.
Yeah, and then with thermal, it's so hard to see those tiny details. And it's really hard to say if it's the system you're using or you just made a mistake and jerked the trigger. Like it's hard to say.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Um, where are all those critters from that are on your wall behind you? Is that like a is that like a what is that white one?
So this one is an Arctic fox. I didn't shoot it. A lot of people give me crap because I didn't shoot them, but I just bought them. So that's a cross fox. They're farm raised, but I think you can shoot them in like Alaska or something. The coyotes, all the coyotes I shot.
That red one's pretty cool.
So yeah, that red one is pretty. That was a pretty nice red one that I shot. That one there is the biggest one I ever shot. It was like 41 pounds, which isn't that nice. The tail's kind of messed up, but this coyote. See this coyote. Oh, this coyote was like a mile from my dad's house at a friend's place, literally right outside of town.
Huh.
Bobcat and a river otter that I bought.
Can you guys shoot bobcats there?
We can. I've never shot one though in South Dakota.
I gotcha. Do you see them ever much or
Maybe one time, but no, not really.
huh? Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're starting to get them pretty thick around here, but it
Hmm.
takes like 2 or 3 years to get a tag for one. So and you can't hunt them at night. So
Oh, really? Yeah, I think there's a law here too for that. You can't shoot them at night. And then you can all you need is a fur bear license, and then you
yep,
can shoot one. So I think East River and the Black Hills, you can limit one, and then West River, I think you can shoot as many as you want, but I'm not sure.
I gotcha. Hmm. Do you have any big plans for 2025 for coyote hunting? Or are you just gonna hammer on them around you and do you have like do you hunt until like a certain time where you kind of quit for a while or what's your year look like for chasing coyotes?
Yeah, it just depends how busy I am, I guess. I don't have any plans really. I guess with the Pulsar, they're having a pro staff event in Texas in March. That's really the only plan I have, or the trip I have planned for now. Um, yeah, usually around end of March and beginning of April, we kind of start slowing down, get ready for summer. I'll do some hunting when we go out west, prairie dog shooting. But once like June, July, August starts coming, everything is so overgrown you can't see
Yeah,
anything else.
right. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I'm about the same way. I'll usually hunt some in the summer, just like we have hay fields and stuff here that, you can kind of hunt over, but it's the same thing for me. About April 1st is when I kind of shut it down for the year. And I like to chase turkeys, so I
Yeah.
usually chase turkeys in the spring for a little while.
Yeah. So yeah, you go out west on the prairie dog towns, everything's pretty flat and bare out there, so you can actually see stuff. But last year I never had time to make it out, but we'll see. We'll see what this year brings, I guess.
Yeah, gotcha. Huh. Well, I'm gonna start wrapping it up. Do you want to tell everybody here where to find your stuff, find your videos, and where people can follow along with you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Dakota Dogs Down. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. YouTube, for some reason, a lot of times won't pop up if you do like Dakota space dog space down. It's all one word. Look it up. You should find me. Most
Okay,
act- most active on Instagram and Facebook, but
gotcha.
longer montages. I post like a monthly highlight reel. That stuff goes on YouTube, and just short clips will go on Facebook and Instagram.
Yep, gotcha. I'll put all of your stuff in the description of the podcast so people can find it, and then hopefully everybody can follow along with you and see your videos.
I appreciate that.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time and thanks for coming on, and hopefully everybody here is gonna check your stuff out and watch your videos, and hopefully your bullets are into lots of coyotes here in the next couple of months.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, thanks for having me on.
You bet.
Hopefully, the viewers learned something and could take something from this.
Yes. Absolutely. I think everybody can always take something, whether it's one small thing. I think that if someone gets one small thing from, anything that they watch or listen to, it's helpful. So
Yeah.
I know I got stuff from you, so that's always helpful for me.
Sweet.
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Catch you later.
Thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Predator Podcast. Big thank you to Shane for joining me. You guys will have to check the links in the description below to find Shane, his Instagram, and find all of his videos and things in the description below. He has some sweet thermal videos, and you guys will want to check it out. So, big thanks to him again for joining me. So, if you guys want to support me, find my discount codes, support the people who support me below, and follow me on Instagram, Predator Podcast _Drew. I post more day-to-day updates there. Also running more stuff onto YouTube now. So the links in the description below to my YouTube channel as well. So check it out, and I appreciate everybody's support, and thank you for listening. So we'll be back next week for another episode of the Predator Podcast. And until then, shoot straight.